Rev up your engines!
Well, here's something you might never have thought would happen. The chip shortage in building cars, it's really going to bother people's bottom end. Some of the trucks, GM is going to have to cut the heated seat option. So it will affect your bottom line, your rear end. You won't be able to have a heated seat because of the chip shortage. Turns out that the Blazer, the Equinox, the Colorado, the GMC Canyon, and the Terrain will lose their heated seats this winter because they can't make them. They have a chip shortage. That's what they say. What, you need a computer chip to make a heater in a car, and they get so carried away with it. But the High Country and the Denali, the super high-tech one, will still have heated seats. I guess if you're going to spend $100 grand or so on one, they better still give you a heated seat. You can't let the rich people have cold rear ends. But beginning November 22nd, they're even dropping the heated steering wheels on even the fancy ones on the Denalis. And all these changes, they say, are going to go through the 2022 year. I do have to say one good thing came out of this chip shortage is that they also stopped that start-stop option in them too, where you stop and they turn off and they turn on. Annoying. It wears your engines out faster, people. Yeah, and it takes a long time to wear them out, right? It'll be long after the warranty's over when they start burning oil and the engines don't work right because you keep starting and stopping them. They weren't made for starting and stopping all the time, right? That's a good thing of it. But if you're worried about having a cold hiney in one of these new trucks, hey, my advice is buy somebody else's truck that's still got heated seats because they're taking them out. Well, if you think Toyota Corollas are boring cars, a Toyota Corolla that's going to have 295 horsepower. Now, that's a Toyota Corolla. And they also say they're going to have a GR Supra that's a standard transmission. You know, they're really BMWs, and they said they're going to put one out with a standard transmission. No saying what kind of transmission they're going to put in, but I mean, Toyota always made good standard transmissions. They didn't have problems. And the rumor with the GR Supra is that it's going to have a 500 horsepower engine in it. The S58 Turbo 3.0 BMW engine. It's got dual turbos on it. 500 horsepower on a Supra. Of course, it's really a BMW. I like the idea of the Corolla with 295 myself. That's a real Toyota. Toyota makes them, designs them. Hey, I think about buying a 295 horsepower Corolla. All the advantages of a car that runs forever with a lot of speed. The old Toyota Corolla that we had, it had just a little bit over 100 horsepower in it. 295, it'd really fly then. Cash Money says, Scotty, what's the toughest, most indestructible vehicle? Thanks. Well, an American Abrams tank. They're pretty much indestructible. They get horrible gas mileage, use fuel like no tomorrow, but they're pretty indestructible vehicles. You can't buy one yourself. That's probably the most indestructible vehicle that I can think of that rolls around. You can drive them on road. But if you want the one that lasts the longest, probably a Toyota Corolla in terms of how long it lasts, and it doesn't self-destruct. But of course, it would be a lot easier to destruct than an Abrams tank if you're talking that. Oscar Joyce says, I got a 2019 Corolla. It might have a locked-up engine. I was cruising through a bad parking lot. My oil filter got knocked out of place. And after that, my car gave low oil pressure. I put a new filter on and some new oil, but the car won't even crank. Well, you probably did lock up the engine. Anybody can check for a locked up engine. It's a simple test. All you do is get a long extension bar and a socket on the end that fits on the front crank pulley. You go to the front of the engine where all the fan belts run off of the one pulley. That's the crank pulley. You put it on there and you see if you can turn the thing around 2 times. If you can turn it around 2 times, it's not locked up. But if it won't make it 2 turns and then it stops at a certain part, your engine is locked up. And of course, if you put it on, you can't even move it. Your engine's completely blown. Then it's completely locked up and it won't move at all. I don't understand how your oil filter got knocked off going through a parking lot, though, because the oil filter's higher than the oil pan. Generally, you're going to knock the oil pan hole, yeah, but the filter itself, I'd never seen that happen before. It's been some weird thing that you ran into. Or maybe it was just not on tight enough and it fell off, because that doesn't make too much sense to me. The oil filter's up a lot higher. Shouldn't drag the oil pan. You know, but anytime you hit something, my advice is stop your car, get out and look. You see a bunch of oil leaking out, just stop, tow it home, tow it to a garage, get it fixed. Don't continue to drive. Just like you see your temperature gauge going in hot, turn it off. Don't continue to drive. Saw a guy the other day, did that with his Jeep. He only went a mile when it was overheating, and then head gasket of the Jeep started to blow. So you see the temperature gauge go up or your oil light comes on, shut it off. Look, if all the oil's coming out or the coolant's leak, don't drive it any further. You're going to destroy a good car because of something something that can easily be fixed just because you don't want to be inconvenienced. You're better to be inconvenienced now than needing a $5,000, $6,000 engine. Hamster Bear says, daughter's 2010 Honda Civic has 150,000 miles. She paid a mechanic to replace the motor mounts last year, and now when the car first starts, there's a severe vibration. Did he buy cheap mounts? Could the noise be something else? Didn't he replace all the mounts? You said he replaced them last year. If he would have used cheap mounts that didn't fit right, it would have vibrated from the get-go. Now, let's say he bought cheap motor mounts that were just cheap rubber, and now the rubber's ripped. It's easy to check. Got a video how to replace a motor mount on your car, Scotty. Watch that, and you'll see you get a jack, a little piece of 2x4, put it under the oil pan and jack it. If you see the motor rises up and you look at the motor mounts and they're all open and the rubber's ripped and there's a space there, then he bought cheap ones and they broke. But you can get vibrations from so many things, and realize it's got motor mounts, it's got transmission mounts. They all work together. And if one of them actually was bad, the other ones are probably close behind. They're all the same age, right? They were built at the same time. So check that first. Pray that something simple like that maybe another one broke. Don't yell at the guy if other ones broke, because you'd have to change them all to be a long-term fix. And changing all the motor mounts and transmission mounts is a very expensive job, and most people don't want to spend that kind of money. Do check it though. Maybe another one broke, but if it's the ones he replaced that are the new cleaner ones and the old ones are dirty, then he bought cheap ones. But it can't just be ultra cheap because it didn't make the noise. You're complaining about it now, but it didn't happen when he put it on in the beginning. If they were the wrong size and they rubbed, it would vibrate right from the get-go. It wouldn't get any different. Only if they broke would that be the problem. Car Dummy says, can a modern car go up to 100,000 miles without an oil change? I got a 2010 Corolla. I service the stuff myself, brake fluid, but what about the oil? Can a modern car really go up to 100,000 miles without an oil change? No, of course not. Actually, if you want a real story, I had a customer back in Houston, and he had a Toyota Previa van, and he was a salesman for the Southwest for a commercial shoe company, so he traveled all around. And this guy was driving like sometimes 5,000 miles in a week. Towed it to me when it had 95,000 miles on it. And I said, okay, well, it needs a fuel pump. So I put a fuel pump on it. But I said, your oil is leaking all over the place. What's the story? I said, how often do you change it? And he told me, he said, I've never changed it. He said, I've had to change the oil every 5,000 miles. I'd have to change it every week. So I just drove it. I said, doesn't it burn oil? And he said, well, you know, the first 60,000 miles it didn't burn a drop. And I got to add a quart every once in a while. So he had 90,000 miles and he'd never changed the oil on the thing. And of course, it damaged the seals. You know, it was burning a little bit of oil. Amazingly enough, it was still running. Because I had another customer in Houston who had a Chrysler. And he didn't change the oil for 20,000 miles. And the engine blew up at 20,000 miles. The Toyota, it's still 90, it was still going, you know. The Chrysler blew up long before that. But no, you want to change your oil every 5,000, 7,000 miles. That's what I advise. I don't listen to any of this baloney people give. Learn how to do it yourself. Save money. Oil keeps your engine running good. Modern engines have so much complex parts. Variable valve timing. All need lubrication. You don't lubricate it with clean oil, the engine goes pfft. Engines cost lots of money. Oil is cheap. Learn how to do it yourself, or find a place that you trust. The guy's not going to, every time you bring in, oh, you need a brake job, you need this, you need that. They're always trying to sell you stuff, right? Learn how to do it yourself, and it'll last. Don't, by all means, let it go 100,000 miles. It's a Toyota. It might make it, but it's going to damage the inside of the engine. Joe G says, hey, I did a brake change in my car and got brake dust and grime on my clothes. Are there any mechanic secrets for any grime out of clothes? Do you have any tricks? I hope I haven't ruined my favorite work khakis. If you're working, do like I do. Have a set of clothes you use when you're working. I got pants, they got paint on them. I use it when I paint, use it when I do dirty jobs on cars. I got shoes I wear when I'm working. I get dirt on that, I got a nice pair of shoes. Same shoes, but they're nice, they're in the closet. I wear them when I'm not doing dirty things. You already got yours dirty. Now, spray brake cleaner is pretty similar to the stuff they use in dry cleaning. Or, if they really like the pants, take it to a dry cleaner. They're going to use 100% solvents. They might be able to get all the stuff out. They might be able to. The dust generally will come off. The grime, that's the hard part. If you want to try, what I try, if I try to save one, if I got really filthy ones I want to clean them is, I'll spray them with brake spray cleaner, then I'll throw them in a washing machine. Now, it's going to make your washing machine smell, right? Because it's real caustic. So you might want to go to a laundromat and wash it in one of these laundromats. The smell will be in a laundromat, not in your house. Because when I try that at my house, my wife screams, what, the house stinks? The washing machine stinks? Now my clothes stink? The laundromat, if you can find one that's open anymore, try the washing there and see what happens. Or just go to a dry cleaner. See if they can dry clean. Because if they can't get it out, believe me, you ruined your pants then. Then keep them as your work pants. And whenever you do work, put on your work pants. That's what I do. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.